So let's go back, right? Because one of the PR people had asked me, what made you want to, I guess, write the book? I'm like, well, we have to take a step back. Like, I'd never planned on having a book or having this book written or whatever, however it came about, right? And so I think I handed it off to you and how it began, and then you told the story. So could you tell the story of how this book came
to
about?
be.
Yeah, came
Yes.
to be.
I well, first was intrigued about you because Anthony, my son, began training at the gym in Hollywood when we moved there, and he hosted a UFC watch party, and I made a lot of food, and there was alcohol, and I was so intrigued by just the parade of men that came through the door, took off their shoes immediately, came to the kitchen, bowed and said hello to me, then went and they did their thing, watched the event, came back to me, bowed before they left. Nothing was on disarray. None of the alcohol was touched. Maybe someone had a beer. No one stayed after till the wee hours of the morning. And that was when that first seed was planted in me because I was already seeing changes in my son. And I asked the question, who is Alberto Crane? And I wouldn't come to meet you until maybe 2 years later when Anthony invited me to come watch him train. And then we went to Acai Cafe. By this time, I had already started my blog. And in watching you, I thought, oh, it would be really nice to have a feature heroes of our community and feature you. And you walk in, Anthony introduces, and then I mentioned to you I would love to write a blog on you. And without, I think within the split of a blink of an eye, you said, sounds good. When can we set it up? And I wasn't expecting that. I just stared at Anthony, dumbfounded. And then Anthony looked at me like a father. He's like, like, what are you waiting for? Then I wrote that blog, and then it's when we sat and I learned a little bit about your story. And this is where I always go back to how intrigued I was, because it was that phrase. It was when you said that you had first been armbarred at Coyote Cafe and that you had, been introduced to jiu-jitsu by your longtime friend, Amal Easton. And then at that moment, you just wanted to learn more. And that I even remember your reaction. You're like, I decided to go all in. I decided to go to Brazil and just live off of my credit cards and just go all in. And then, of course, I wrote like a 1,500-word blog, but that always stayed with me. And I felt that you needed to tell your story because there were so many other nuances that had to be told. And I waited, I think, another 2 year before I ever approached you.
2 years.
Yeah, because I thought, one day I'm going to see his book published and I'm going to be so upset that I didn't ask. And I was hesitant because I wasn't a published author. I only had a blog and I didn't know. And so when you and I sat down, I think I wrote you like a 500-word example. And we had coffee, and you just said, and I told you I don't have the experience. And you said, I think it's better. I think it's better, and let's do it. And so what I was telling the PR person, and this is what I always say, is that I'm a representation of your philosophy and how that quote, that's why when I opened it up, how you said you always did your best and you always want other people to do their best. And you invested in me. You took a chance on me. And that's how, weaving in my storytelling and your stories ultimately is how the book came out. And what I always say and what makes me emotional all the time about your story is you're a world champion. You have many accolades. You're a successful entrepreneur. I mean, all your awards are on the wall, but for me, it's that when nobody knew you and when you went out to pursue this on your intuition, you lost 3 years in a row.